Hello, I'm John Grom, and welcome to our 93rd Right and Left Discussion Forum. We hold our discussion panels twice monthly to demonstrate civil, productive, open-minded discussions. Today, our panel will engage in an open discussion on all aspects of the 2016 election, including but not limited to press coverage, the inaugural, confirmation hearings, election resistance, Women's March, post-truth, and hopefully we can get into a discussion about the ideal background of a President of the United States. Today's panel, beginning in no specific order, is Dr. Ronald Chamberlin, retired senior research chemist, Jerry Ritzman, partner, Ritzman Pharmacies, Patty Haskins, retired math teacher and member of the Wadsworth City Council, and Bryan Laubaugh, president of R&B Financial Services. So, anybody can jump in any time with any thoughts about the election.
I got just a general comment from my point of view. I'm trying not to be a knee-jerk liberal, to look when I watch what's going on to immediately react, because reality is usually more complex than a simple, quick solution. Simple, quick solutions can be elegant, but they're frequently wrong. However, I must admit that when I begin to try to think out where the logical progression is going to be, what's going to happen from these different things, my liberal bias leads me in more in one direction than the other. I admit that. No, I don't see a problem with that. But I'm disturbed with quite a lot of things about what Mr. Trump has been doing. He seems to be living in some sort of alternative reality. Not alternative truths necessarily, but alternative reality. Yeah, it was sunny on the inauguration after it stopped raining. There's a massive voter fraud. All this stuff, where's he coming from? Where's he living?
I'm still trying to deal with, I won in a landslide.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what's he won? What's the problem? And the implications of calling out a massive voter fraud, which doesn't exist apparently. This has implications for our standing in the international community. So such things as recently putting a freeze on, a preferential freeze on immigration from Muslim countries, Muslim and African countries, wanting to stop contribution to international agencies which aid refugees. Those things are going on. I saw a list today, again on a more liberal website, about a whole bunch of this stuff. And
you're going to have to quit looking at those liberal websites.
No. But it goes on.
I'm playing with you, Ron.
It goes on. Slate, Slate. It's a little bit to the left of center. And I listen to the NPR nightly news generally, and last night they had a couple of people talking about the immigration situation, and two folks, one in the studio, one on TV at a remote location, and one person said this is terrible. They're coming from the point of view of the humanitarian results of this. The other was coming from the legalistic results of this. Yeah, we need to look at these immigrants who are breaking the law, not just because they're here illegally, but they're engaging in criminal acts while they're here. We need to be more assertive about that. We need the wall is a good thing. We need to do that. Yeah. So back and forth, each of them had pretty good points, I thought, and I think we have to try to do that more, not just coming from one point of view or the other, but it's tough to do. It's tough to do. I have a lot of things that's disturbing me, and.
Let me just ask you this quick question before Jerry is dying to jump all over you.
I can see him chomping it.
No. Would you have any problem of us controlling the immigration of countries where there was widespread, highly contagious, very lethal disease going on?
I think it's part of the vetting process, but to just unilaterally,
But
universally.
say Kenya had this widespread, so we want to stop all immigration from Kenya until you can prove you don't have Zika or whatever.
No.
Do you have a problem?
No, I don't have I have a problem with that. I have a problem with a blanket ban.
You do?
I do have a problem with that.
Even to make sure people don't have.
Even
okay.
that. With a blanket. I think you need to you need to put the resources into evaluating that, to treating people. A blanket ban, I think, is not what we're doing, what we should do as a country.
One of these days we'll have to talk about the history of Ellis Island. But
Yeah.
excuse me, Jerry, for jumping
I
in.
agree with you there, Ron. That blanket ban is I think a dangerous first step.
Yeah.
But you mentioned, Ron, and I'm going to jump in here, and thanks, John. You mentioned watching the nightly news. The last time I watched any news was election night, because any news outlet that I was watching so blatantly showed their biases that I lost all trust and all confidence in those quote-unquote news professionals. One outlet, they were like high-fiving and celebrating. The other outlet, I thought one of the anchors was going to burst into tears any moment. And I thought, this really shows your biases. You're involuntarily showing your biases. So I said, I'm not watching anymore.
Well, it certainly shows your emotional involvement.
Yeah. And I said, if what I'm going to do is, if there's an event, I'm going to go to the original source document and read it and see what I think. I don't want it colored by somebody's interpretation and snippets from it. I went to the inaugural address and printed it out. And I thought, you know, do you have any objection to these statements that we will get people off welfare and back to work, rebuilding our country with American hands and American labor? Can you?
It's a global economy, though. That doesn't necessarily work.
It may not work, but is there anything objectionable about that statement? We will seek friendship and goodwill with the nations of the world, but we do so with the understanding that it is the right of all nations to put their interests first. We do not seek to impose our way of life on anyone, but rather to let it shine as an example for everyone to follow. We will reinforce old alliances and form new ones, and unite the civilized world against radical Islamic terrorism. At the bedrock of our politics will be a total allegiance to the United States of America, and through our loyalty to our country, we will rediscover loyalty to each other. We must speak our minds openly, debate our disagreements honestly, but always pursue solidarity. Finally, we will think big and dream even bigger. And in America, we understand that a nation is only living as long as it is striving. I don't have any problems with those statements.
I do.
You may. I don't. There are some I did have problems with, when it's, from this moment on, it's going to be America first.
That's exactly my
Every
point.
decision
That makes me very
will be
nervous.
made to benefit American workers and American families. Every decision. We're not going to consider anybody else, any refugee countries, anybody in distress. We will follow two simple rules: buy American and hire American. This ain't 1953, where we had the highest production employment in the country.
The rest of the world was still in shambles.
Yeah,
from the
and
war.
when America is united, America is totally unstoppable. I mean, this is a sign of somebody's huge ego.
Vietnam, I wonder.
Yeah, well.
No, he doesn't remember.
Yeah,
He didn't pay
yeah,
attention to it.
but that's troubling to me. Some of those statements I can agree with,
Sure.
and I can ascribe to. Others, to me, are arrogant, self-centered, and it's me, nobody else. That bothers me. So I went to those sources, and just to see what I thought about that inaugural address.
If you might be interested, there's an op-ed piece this morning's Akron Beacon Journal speaking to the positive aspects of the inaugural speech.
Good. You mean it's not an op-ed against
No, it isn't.
charter schools?
It isn't.
Oh, no, excuse me.
You know, I think when we look at the election, I mean, the election is over. Donald Trump won in a fair system. And whether we like that or whether we don't, this is the situation we have. I like to look at what's going on now. You mentioned appointments to the to his cabinet.
Yep.
And there's been a lot of screaming about how dare Democrats challenge these people. Part of the reason they're challenged is because the vetting process was not done prior. A lot of this information was not out there. And there are some concerns. I have, as a former educator, big concerns about Betsy DeVos, who really is not an experienced person for that job. I have concerns with Rick Perry handling nuclear power when he didn't even know that the Department of Energy controlled nuclear power. He thought that his job would be concerned with going out and lobbying for oil interests, which he would be good at, but he also has a great deal more in the job. I think it's Price who's being head up for the
HHS.
Right, and there is documentation that he purchased stock and then immediately introduced bills that would raise that stock price. I mean, these are things that are concerning and needs to be put out there. I have, I think that vetting process is going well. Now, do I think all of those candidates are going to be put through? Yes, I do. I think they're all going to be accepted, and partially because they only require 51 votes. That was changed by the Democrats in last sessions. And
These things come back to bite you occasionally, don't they?
but I think that was the fair way to do it. Now they still will have to they will have to garner 60 votes for a Supreme Court nomination, but as far as these nominations, they are going to go through. There are conflicts of interest, I think, in some of his appointments as far as family members and so forth, and I do have some concerns with people like Steve Bannon that are being put in. I also have concerns.
He's not up for a cabinet position. He's an
No,
advisor.
he's one of the closest people to him,
Yeah.
though, giving him advice.
Yeah.
I have concerns with the comments that Trump is making through his tweets. He says he likes to go around the media and just put stuff out, but he puts out comments that are not really important. I mean, arguing about the size of the crowd is ridiculous. He had a very large crowd. Was it as large as Obama's? No. Fine, you won the election, move on. Why stand up there and lie to people? Why send out someone who comes out with this idiotic, excuse me, I shouldn't use that term, but this idea of alternative facts? I mean, I always thought facts were facts. There's no such thing as an alternative.
That was Kellyanne.
Kellyanne Conway that came up with alternative facts. I find that difficult. His statement that 3 to 5 million people voted illegally, and it was these immigrants and the dead people that were voting and people that live in 2 states. And
Incidentally, several people on his staff are registered in 2 states.
I was just going to mention, and none of them voted for him. His daughter Tiffany is registered in 2 states. Steve Bannon was registered in 2 states as up till yesterday, and Steve Mnuchin, his nominee for the Secretary of Treasury. Mnuchin. Okay, is registered in 2 states. You know, he makes up things, but he dwells on issues. The voter fraud thing, I think, is ridiculous. Now he is going to have an investigation into it. He wasn't going to, but it's simply because he can't stand that he lost the popular vote, and he wants to come up with a way to go around it. I want to see...
It's a personality.
Yeah, I want to see his plans for infrastructure, and I want specifics on it. He's come up with an executive order for building the wall. He said, we're not going to worry about the cost. We'll talk about it later. We need to see what those costs are going to be and how much it's going to affect. I think some of his plans could work out to be very good, and they could work with both sides of the aisle to accomplish them. But he's got to focus on what's important, quit lying, and quit all this peripheral stuff that we really don't need to hear about.
Keep in mind, this is what, the 6th day?
Yeah. You know, I thought about that too, but I recall when Obama was elected, they were on him the first day. Why hasn't he done this? Why hasn't he done that?
I know.
And the problem is we have seen 2 years of Donald Trump doing the tweeting, saying the inappropriate things. All of this, we do know what we're getting now. And it does scare me a bit. So.
Okay, Bryan?
Well, I think what comes to mind is you got to be careful what you pray for. And the liberal media wanted Donald Trump. Hillary wanted Donald Trump in the general election, and I've sat here for many months, and it fell on deaf ears. You know, not been a Trump supporter, but now that he's the president of the United States, it is what it is. And I'm not going to sit here and defend the man, but the fact of the matter is, our mainstream media, the folks that are supposed to have the guardian of the universe, so to speak, the First Amendment, you know, they're supposed to call these people out. They basically sat there and did nothing through the whole primary process. They gave him $2 billion.
Yeah.
It's estimated that they gave him $2 billion. They all thought it was funny in the primary when he was tweeting about the Bushes, when he was tweeting about Little Marco, when he was tweeting about crazy Ted Cruz. Oh, that was all funny, so we're not going to say anything about that. But now it's all serious. Mm-hmm. Now it's going to affect people. Now, oh, we can't have it. Look at this, what he's going to do over here. Well, the fact of the matter is most people most conservative people were telling people this from the very beginning, that the man is a demagogue and he's not a good person. But no, that's what Hillary wanted, so Hillary got it. And now our brethren on the left and our mainstream media, they're going to have to live with this man for the next 4 years. And as far as I'm concerned,
you can't put the blame for the Republican nominee being Trump on the Democrats. You've got to put it on the Republicans who nominated him.
We had 17